Okay, guys, so welcome to this Mindset Monday. So today I am answering a poll that people have been asking in a survey that I do. So this subject is to discuss, oh my God, what do we do when we're so busy and it's really hard to keep up with a health and fitness routine? So I have just kept this straight to the point today, and hopefully I'm coming from a place of personal experience, so me and my schedule are always kind of going hand on hand, and I do love to have like a very busy schedule. So everybody knows, and you've probably seen as well on Instagram how many times I post my calendar. I feel like I'm kind of boasting a little bit, like my calendar actually, but it's not. It's just because I usually have a lot on, and my calendar is very blocked off quite a lot of the time. So I'm just explaining how do we keep a health and fitness routine when we are super busy. And I can imagine that if you are also on lockdown, stuck at home, and your kids at home as well, it might be quite difficult to manage that side of the business. Yeah, because it kind of is a business having a whole family to look after. So I've done in terms of like keeping it in 3 points. And here goes. So, number one, if you want to keep up with a good health and fitness routine while you are extremely busy, you have to keep it simple. Okay. So, keeping it simple in a sense is that you have to think about the food and recipes that you are preparing. And very often, what I do myself is that I go and do a food shopping for the week, or order. I get an odd box every week myself. So I order an odd box and I get the fruits and vegetables from odd box. I try and make shift whatever I can from the odd box. And sometimes I also go and do a supplemental shop. Sometimes I order a little box from Mindful Chef, and then I've got about three, four, depending on how many portions I can get, meals ready. So I keep it quite simple. I keep my recipes under half an hour, and I always make batch at least 2 or 3 meals out of that. So this way it saves me time and I don't have to panic. And I know that my next meals are ready for the lunch after and the lunch for the next couple of days, for example. So your food and recipes, I explain that to my clients. I tend to tell them, if you want to introduce new recipes, try and do it to a point where you feel you have the time to do it, and then you feel confident into integrating a new recipe into your sort of food prep routine. So I tend to include maybe one or two new recipes a month, but most of the time, week in, week out, my food will be fairly similar unless I get a new vegetable or something of sort and the season is changing. So when the season is changing, I tend to get a bit more different recipes. So in the summer, everything will be a bit more salady, smoothie, stuff that is a bit more summer related. And then in winter, it's more comfort food, things like porridge, pancakes for breakfast. And I do for lunch and dinner, I tend to do very simple things like fish cakes, and I will prep a curry or stew that will, and a soup that kind of lasts me for like 2, 3 meals. I still have some soup in my freezer, for example, and that is just very easy. Your training plan should also be quite simple. So, especially right now, it can feel a bit overwhelming to see all these new plans available online. And you might, as tempting as it might be to just kind of like integrate something new into your routine, maybe just actually stay in a place where you know how to train and do the same thing as I was explaining with the recipe. Just start introducing something new step by step. So, first of all, try and bring back a little bit of that routine and try and just keep your program very simple. The amount of exercises, the amount of sets, the amount of reps, and just include and practice your progressive overload over the next 4 weeks and just keep it there. And also, what's quite important is to not pile up the tasks, because if you end up piling the task, you're going to feel absolutely overwhelmed, and you are just going to end up feeling like doing nothing at all. So that actually happens to me quite a fair bit. Sometimes I just see the amount of stuff I have to do, I get overwhelmed, especially with the health and fitness routine. I get overwhelmed with the amount of things that I can do sometimes. So for me, the stuff that I really want to work on are having a better sleep hygiene, making sure that I don't lack of sleep, so that I go to bed early enough, that I don't stay on screens, that I don't work past a certain time. For me is to wake up like quite early, like 5:30 in the morning, so I can make my own training before my work day starts, which is around 7:30 8 a.m., and then so on. So I have to work certain elements, but sometimes it can feel like there's just too many things to do. There are too many things that you want to include. You want to include your journaling, your reading, your um, phone things, during this, and work out like 5 times a week. And it's important not to pile and start a little bit easy first. So just tell yourself, okay, for now I just want to work out twice a week. At the moment I'm just at 2 workouts a week, just because for health reasons at the moment we're still trying to figure out, I cannot just overwork myself. However, I do my practice 6 days a week. I practice prana and meditation every day. So I'm already including things in my schedule that are already showing me a form of progress. So I think you need to see it like that, and try to not overwhelm with, I need to stop eating this, start eating that, get all this new food, get rid of all this old food, and pile up all this stuff that is can get really overwhelming, especially if you are busy. What I've noticed as well is when you travel, like talking of travel, when you are in a bit of a non-familiar environment, it can be a bit difficult to keep up with everything as well. Even more, keeping up with the routine is quite hard to build when you're traveling. And applying this to this new lifestyle is also quite important, is to also just kind of take the time to reset where you are and evaluate what you really want out of this new routine, how it's going to work out for you, and what is the goal you want to get out of it. So really not piling up, and also not beating yourself up if you feel like you haven't actually achieved everything every single day. So if you've missed out on one of your tasks for a day, don't beat yourself up, and try to be kind to yourself, because that doesn't mean that you have failed. It means that maybe that day you haven't managed, because the time, sometimes I end up like this, I end up not being able to do certain tasks, especially at the end of the day, because I've ended up just working maybe like 10 15 minutes a little bit later. Maybe the kids are just demanding a little bit more attention that day, and you just might not be able to do this. So the second part of it is to block out time. So obviously we discussed this, sometimes it's hard to actually block out the time completely, but it's important to see this time as priority, and to prioritize this time. So for me, prioritizing the time before my workday starts, and waking up at 5:30, starting my practice at 6:30, finishing by 7:30, and then moving on to my work day, it's my priority. So in order to achieve my priority, I do have to get to bed by 10 p.m. At the moment I fall asleep at 11. My aim is to actually fall asleep at 10. So during the week is actually going and ending up in bed in like 9:30. So very gently I start including smaller and smaller increments of time where I feel like I can go to bed a little bit earlier, so I can wake up to bed a little bit earlier, because for me my priority is to be able to wake up early and do my 90-minute practice before my work day starts. So see it as this is what how do you want to prioritize the time you want to make for your health and fitness, and how can you work the things around it, rather than seeing it as you need to try and fit it, and you can't fit it anywhere and it gets very frustrating. It's how can you prioritize that time. Obviously, as I said, sometimes it's just not going to happen. Sometimes you're not I sometimes I struggle to wake up early enough. Sometimes you won't make it to bed. Sometimes, as I said, the kids might be asking for a little bit more attention, and you will not be able to get that time. But see it as a way to prioritize the time for yourself. And then we're going moving on to the next, which also work onto the prioritizing, is setting an ideal goal. So, for example, how many times do you really want to work out per week? So, oh my God, ideally, I'd like to work out 5 times per week. Ideally, I'd like to make sure that I move 7 times per week, 7 days a week, like every day. That I go for a walk at least the days I'm not at uni, and that I go to bed at 9:30, 10 p.m. from Monday to Thursday, and I allow myself a bit of a later from Sunday to Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday I allow myself a bit more time. But it's these things where I'm like, I want to try and achieve a certain amount of thing. That's your ideal. Yeah. So you want to establish what's your ideal goal, but also establish a minimum goal, because sometimes we perceive this ideal too much. We just look up towards this ideal so much. We are like, I need to get to work out 5 times per week, but sometimes like it's not going to happen straight away. You might be like just working out twice a week for the first couple of weeks. Maybe you'll be able to get in there and just tell yourself, okay, this time I can work one more day per week. For example, I have started waking up at 5:30 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then as I will get used to it, maybe I would start the Tuesday I'm allowing myself to wake up at 6:30, so an hour later, for example. So start this way. So start telling yourself, okay, my ideal goal is to achieve this amount, but the bare minimum I want to do to be happy with my performance is this amount. Because then you're not going to feel so defeated when your ideal goal is not attained, which very often happen. Like I tend to set, as I think my goals are realistic, but I am very ambitious, and very often I arrive at the end of the week and I'm like, this is bullshit. I haven't done anything of the list and all that. And I have done, but for me, I feel like I haven't done enough. So what I do is I just give myself a guideline of, at least if I do this amount, then I'll feel like I've reached a certain amount of achievement. And you should be kind of working this way when you do your health and fitness routines. Try to like have a look at your baseline and your ideal, and we slowly bridge the gap in between. So your minimum and your ideal. Okay. The third element that's quite important in order to achieve a health and fitness routine when you have a busy schedule is to adjust and review the goals. Okay. So adjusting and reviewing the goals means that every 4 weeks you kind of change. I would say like every 4, 6 weeks, but for me, I find like every 4 weeks is easy, because then I sit down and I'm like, okay, how realistically have I been able to keep up with this routine, with those new habits, with this habit of waking up at this time, with this habit of practicing this amount of time per week, this habit of working out this amount of time per week, with this habit of going to bed. You have to review everything, because when you have a goal, all right. So for me at the moment, I'm not giving myself goals of, I think seeing bigger goals are quite important. And obviously, I have bigger goals, especially for my business, myself, for my business. Okay. So I have bigger goals for my business. I have goals. So when you establish goals, you always want to see the goals like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months down the line. And then you break this down into a bit more manageable goals, or your milestones. You want to achieve a certain amount of milestones. So the milestones are divided into sort of monthly goal, and then you end up into the end of the month and you're just like, okay, how these milestones have been working out for me. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it does not. So when it works out, we stay consistent. Maybe we amplify, we up it, we add on, we develop the challenge a bit more. Yeah. So whereas it's a new workout, fresh workout, new pattern movement patterns, new progressive overload, that sort of stuff. Or when we go into a new nutrition, oh, maybe I'm going to introduce a new recipe, maybe I'm going to change a few things, maybe I'm going to lower my calorie intake, maybe I'm going to start taking off. If you tend to eat junk food, like a certain, with my clients who say, how many times do you eat junk food per week? They eat junk food like 5 times per week. Some of them are like, and that's like COVID or no COVID. I've had some clients who are just like, I just want to reduce the amount of time I eat junk food per week. So if you start at like 4 times per week, and you just say, okay, well, let's just have the junk food maybe on a Friday and a Saturday night, and eventually on a Thursday. And then the month after, we're like, how we been able to remove this? How has it worked out for us? And then when we look at it, we also say, how can I implement a strategy to make this work? So I was giving this strategy to my clients, like, same thing, order yourself some box of food. So mine are older mindful chef, but you have Gusto, you have Hello Fresh, you have like lots of different boxes, odd box, and you order like muscle food, and you can order yourself like even pre-made meal that are a bit healthier. Like muscle food does that. They do like really easy meal, sort of like meal kits too. And so you end up evaluating this and looking at it and say, all right, so has this strategy work? I've ordered my box, I've ordered this food that's like super simple, I just need to reheat it, a couple of meal kit that I can do here and there. Did that work out for me? Have I been able to keep up with just eating junk food Thursday, Friday, Saturday instead of eating 5 times per week? If that worked, then we're just like, are we able to take one day off next week? So it's the same as like a training plan. And you just like, okay, next month, maybe I'll take another junk food free day. Yeah. And that's how you basically evaluate every month and take it up to the next level. You have to evaluate, because when you're busy, sometimes it just does not work. So when that works is great, but when it doesn't work, you actually have to do two things. One, you have to look at the actual goal and tell yourself, okay, do I really want to achieve this? Is this really a goal that I attach an emotion to it, it really is close to my heart? Yeah, because sometimes we don't attach the emotion enough to the goal, we don't actually see it, and we don't end up feeling like we really want it. So sometimes when we start implementing new goals, we get really excited. We're like, woo, oh right, new goals, amazing. However, when we actually start taking on the program, or when we actually take the first month and we realize, holy shit, this is hard, this is really not what I expected, I really can't fit this in my schedule, this doesn't work. So if you have a coach, the first thing you need to do is actually speak to your coach, and then your coach is going to ask you exactly what I've explained. Is your goal still relevant to what you really want out from life, from your purpose? If so, let's implement a new strategy. So if your strategy didn't work, then you have to implement a new strategy. You have to change how you strategize the next month. Okay. So if, for example, that didn't quite work out, then for the junk food, if you felt like you were still eating 5 days per week, then we look at, okay, what didn't work in the strategy and how can we make it work? And then we work with you. Like, I can give advice as a coach, but what really works is for you to figure it out yourself. Especially every person is different. If you're busy, your schedule is going to be different depending on what you have. Like, as I explained, for me, I've got a very busy schedule because I take a lot on and I run a business. For someone who's a single mom, or has, even a family that is like working from home and they have their kids, things might be a bit difficult. So always look at the strategy, how it worked out for you. If it didn't work out, is your goal still relevant? Is it still something you attach a lot of emotion to? If so, let's implement a new strategy, or let's try and simplify the strategy again. So really try stay consistent with whatever is working, amplify and level it up step by step, and revise the strategies that are not working. So you can speak to a coach, or, as I say, if you have a partner or something, you just sit down and you're just like, all right, we need to find another way to make this work. Because when you really want something, you actually make it work. So you just have to sit down and be like, is this really what we want, and how can we make this happen? So especially if you have children, for example, be like, I haven't been able to take those 2 days a week to work out because the kids are always coming into the living room and just speaking to me, and they're not giving me that time. We need to find a solution. So the partner might be like, okay, so now maybe we are going to make sure that the kids are doing something while you are training. And if that still doesn't work, maybe we say, well, let's just make you train in the bedroom. Let's move the bed and let's just move the furniture out of the bedroom. And for months, let's just see if that gives you a bit more time and space to work out. Everything, just look at the strategy, look at the goal, and look at the strategy to implement and change. We we actually are in a world right now where we have pretty much been pushed to learn to adapt. So this is exactly a very similar way as well to see things. It's like, how can I adapt to make this goal happen regardless, and find this strategy. So that's pretty much it, guys. As I said, short but sweet, very straight to the point. Those 3 points, keep it simple, block out time, adjust and review your goals consistently. And then you will be more able to see how you can achieve this milestone. Always start from the biggest goal. I always love to have very ambitious, big goals, and then break it down into a timeline. What is going to happen in the next, if you do a year goal, in the next 12, in the next 9, in the next 6, in the next 3. And then you spend a bit more time breaking down your 3 into your month, and then your month into your week. So I don't plan 12 weeks in advance very often. Even with my clients, I just do their planning month in, month out. I don't sell 12-week program for that reason, because we have to revise every 4 weeks how it goes. And then week in, week out, sometimes we even change what we actually do when we train together. So you have to see it like that, adapt it. That doesn't mean that you not seeing the goal always at the top, always just look at that same goal, because you always want to trail. But remember that there is not one linear way to reach a goal. Sometimes you have to take different directions in order to arrive at the goal. And that's the most important thing to visualize for yourself, is that sometimes we just tend to just smash our head against the wall and just be like, this is not working, this is crap, I hate this. But actually taking a different direction in strategy can actually help reach your goal. Nothing is linear. You might get a fitness program that tells you so, but the thing is, it is not. You have to adapt to who you are, what your needs are, and what is your schedule, and just turn it into your own, make it your own flavor, make it your own sauce. I hope that you find that really helpful. Guys, you know that you can actually book a free coaching call with me. So we do exactly this. See, I've spent 20 minutes discussing this, and I can spend 20 minutes on the call with you to do exactly what we've done, break down the goals, have a look at realistically how we can implement this into your daily lifestyle. And you, all you have to do is contact me via my website, fitfrenchkids.com, or on Instagram with the link in my bio. You can book a free coaching call. On Facebook, you can also book, you can DM me. There are ways to get there, and I'm here for you to help you. And in the meantime, guys, I say go forth and be your own kind of badass. Bye.